So we are literally, days away from a European parliamentary election, and of course, Nigel Farage has resurfaced like the poo which just wouldn't flush. And no matter how many times you flush it, it just keeps on coming back. And oh boy, there's one thing that's really terrifying, and we've covered these before, but Nigel's Brexit rallies. This is really generally quite terrifying because it's no policy, all rhetoric, and it's to a dangerous degree where if Brexit Party MPs actually got elected and won some sort of majority, they would be incredibly dangerous to this country because none of them, not one, talks about policy or how they could potentially be held to account at a following general election. And here we are, as the title of this article goes in The Guardian, Brexit Party events offers a terrifying glimpse into our possible future. The Tories have buried their heads in the sand, trying to pretend the European elections aren't really happening next week. Labour has only a slightly firmer grip on reality. Just make it go away. Don't mention the war. Nigel Farage has never found a political vacuum he wasn't desperate to fill. A voice for any spare, free-floating grievance, the establishment man for the anti-establishment. At the Featherstone's Working's Men's Club, he is made to feel right at home. This part of Yorkshire voted nearly 70% to leave the EU, and it had been standing room only long before the Brexit Party leader had made his appearance on the stage to a saviour's welcome. These days, Nigel Farage is being kept on a strict leash by Brexit Party chairman Richard Trice. Nothing is being left to chance. Even the seemingly unscripted moments are tightly rehearsed. And it was Trice, part millionaire, wheeler dealer, part fax man of the people, used car salesman, who opened the rally shortly after 11 p.m. with his by now familiar patter of betrayal and humiliation. Politicians, businessmen, the civil service, all of them enemies of the people. What the country needed was people with the confidence and belief to make Britain great again. A straight lift from the Donald Trump playbook, but no one in the audience cared. They could mainline this stuff all day. "You couldn't make this stuff up," yelled the next speaker, John Longworth, a former head of the British Chamber of Commerce and Brexit Party candidate for North East. Except he did make it up. He lied through his teeth. He told the crowd Brexit had won an overwhelming majority at the referendum rather than a 52-48 majority. He told them Westminster was delaying them from their birthright, forgetting to mention that the reason the UK had not already left the EU was because of Brexiteers voting down a deal for which they would have given their back teeth 3 years ago. He told them that a no-deal World Trade Organization Brexit would turn Yorkshire into the land of milk and honey. And I want you to remember this guy, John Longworth. Because if this no-deal Brexit happens, and we do end up on WTO rules, and everything goes to crap, these are the people who you should be blaming. So others came and went, promising much the same. The local MP Yvette Cooper and John Thickett were booed openly, denounced as traitors. The person to my left, who I'd been chatting before, even advised me not to mention I worked for The Guardian, as if I needed telling. This was the Blitz spirit being whipped up into a lynch mob. There was a time when a Farage event always came with an element of humour, as if neither he nor his audience were expected to take him entirely seriously. This is now something else. Ice-cold calculation turning into tapping into a crowd worn down by austerity and waiting on deliverance. No retreat, baby, no surrender. Up next was Anne Widdecombe. Under any normal circumstances, a celebrity joke, best known for embarrassing herself as a piss-poor panto act on reality TV shows. A former Tory MP who would have been eaten alive in this Labour stronghold. Instead, she too was greeted with an unquestioning adoration. Brexit means Brexit. Democracy, betrayal by the rich and powerful, a lifetime of servitude under the EU, lies and more lies. She even managed to cram in an impression of Theresa May. That's how bad it got for the Prime Minister, to be taken apart by a national joke. Farage acknowledged the applause. His plastic perma smile stretched to a fixed grin. These weren't really his people, but he needed to make them believe they were. He needn't have worried. The crowd was overwhelmingly white, over 50s, men and women, and they weren't there to make any demands on him. They just wanted him to sprinkle a bit of stardust their way. Nigel relaxed a little, though not too much. This was the new reinvented Farage, not the slightly pissed joker of years gone by. Stay on message. Give them what they want. Give them more of what they want. You now get what you get now is Farage from the head, not the heart. A professional politician masquerading as the outsider and playing the percentages. A man who has spotted an opening and is kicking it even wider. And this wasn't his finest speech. It didn't need to be. No one was going to ask him tricky questions about the racism of previous campaigns, his doubts about climate change, or how he'd previously advocated for a Norwegian-style Brexit. No, he wasn't going to explain exactly how his no-deal Brexit was going to produce the untold riches for everyone, and manifestos were only lies anyway. So all he was asking was that they believed and it would come true. And they did believe, because they were desperate. Here was an all too possible version of the future, where nuance and complexity have given way to sound bites and populism, where lip service is paid to healing divisions, providing it's everyone else who's making the compromises. It was one of the most genuinely disturbing political events I've ever attended, and Westminster ought to be completely scared. This is, again, as I've said it before, generally worrying. Because if, like say, they actually get MPs into power and become a genuine political force with no manifesto, then you can't judge them on how well they've performed or what promises they've made, and you can't hold their feet to the fire in questioning them. Look, Farage, even on Andrew Marr, had to run away from statements that he had made about privatising the NHS, he wanted to roll back gun laws, you name it. He didn't want to answer those questions because he has now vacated the realm of policy. He has realised that as long as you promise people what they want, you may necessarily not even have to deliver on it. You just have to be professional malcontent. And you promise them what they want. But the problem is, what if you get in power? What then? That's where the damage can be really done to politics. This is why there needs to be a lot of these people need to recognise the complexity of politics and policies and the nuance that needs to be in politics that isn't. And as was said there, this deal that is being put forward by Theresa May 3 years ago, if there hadn't been a referendum, the Nigel Farage, Boris Johnson, Rees-Mogg, all the Brexiteers would have been saying, yes, that's the Brexit we want, give it to us. But no, they have been trying this tried and true tactic of it's the will of the people. Of course they want a no deal. Oh, no one voted for a no deal. That's the truth. And people who say they wanted a no deal are lying, because that was not what was put on forward. That was not what was put on offer. If any next referendum comes forward, it should absolutely be Theresa May's deal or remaining. That's what the answer should be. But there you go. Will Farage get in? Probably. But, you know, I do hope that, as has been recently talked about in another area, a lot of his voters are predominantly over 50. It's not the people younger than that are supporting him. So if the under 50s get out and vote, which there has been a lot of run-up. You know, the Remain parties and the groups aren't stupid. They've been running around like headless chickens, getting people to register them to vote, and even telling them this simple question. Look, and I will repeat this as well. If you want Brexit, vote for the Conservative Party. Generally vote for the Conservative Party. I'm not taking the mick, because you do not want Nigel Farage to be your representative in the European Parliament. Nigel Farage has done nothing, and he will continue to do nothing for you. He will promise everything and give you nothing in return. And that's where we are in this stage of politics. Nigel Farage is running around promising everything, even promising that apparently he can get a better deal than Theresa May. How? He won't say, because that dips into actual policy, which he does not want to discuss, because then he can have his feet held to the fire and he can actually, you know, be held to account. So if you are, you know, as Brexiteers often claim, someone who believes in democracy and democratic values, then don't vote for the Brexit Party, vote for the Conservatives. Because Nigel Farage makes a complete mockery of democracy when he holds these rallies, when he says that manifestos are all lies, when he, you know, runs away from people asking him real journalistic questions about statements he has made. Because we have nothing else to ask him about his platform, his policies, because he doesn't want to talk about that. He just wants to, you know, spout populistic nonsense. And when people like this get into power or have any sort of actual power, it's never good for the country. So my question, my plea to you, to any Brexiteers out there, is don't vote for the Brexit Party, vote for the Conservatives, because they are actually trying to uphold democracy. Theresa May's deal does deliver on the referendum result. You can hate it as much as you want, but it does. Because how ill-defined the term leave was, you know, even said, we've just mentioned, Nigel Farage campaigned for a Norway-style Brexit. What's changed? The answer is that he can get out and he can help his ludicrously rich friends that are helping funding this party to get rid of workers' rights, protections that we have fought for years, and that post-Brexit we are going to have to fight for. So as I've said this before, if we do end up in this situation post-Brexit and these Brexiteers are trying to remove all these protections and privatise the NHS, then I will ask you this simple question. Brexiteers, is this really what you voted for? Because now these people are trying to remove hard fought for and hard won protections. And they will be gone because of you. You will be the will of the people that they use as a hammer to try and club down any oppositions, even experts who will come out and say, this is stupid, why are you getting rid of this regulation? This will have impacts on this country. We used to beat people like that down. This is why you need people to come and talk about the complex issues and talk about how it is important to the communities, to the region, to the country at large. Because that has been what was missing in the couple of years since. It hasn't been absent completely, it's just, oh, people have had enough of experts. Sooner or later, you need those experts. And the Brexiteers will go running to them. And, you know, how willing these people will be to respond and put their, you know, expertise forward, who knows? Remember last time, you are the people who told them that they were liars. So that's something that a lot of Brexiteers are going to have to come to terms with. Because this Brexit fantasy, sooner rather than later, will come crashing down. And when it does, you will have no one to blame but yourselves.